Hi, guys. Welcome back. Let's check out what people around the country think of President Biden pardoning his son Hunter. And if you don't mind, let me know what you think down below. Would you have pardoned your son?
If I'm like Joe Biden and I'm that deep into it, and I got the Supreme Court says I have immunity and I can pardon whoever I want. If that's my son, I'm doing the same thing. Roll it up, wind it out. I don't even care what people think. I'm on my way out. I'm doing it, right? Did you notice that the pardon is 10 years long? And it starts January 1st, 2014, goes until now, right? It's strange because that's the time when somebody was,
What?
there's the vice president in there, Joe Biden,
Okay.
who's president now. And the whole thing was Hunter Biden's work at Burisma, the energy company. He was there working with them, but at the end of the day, he was selling access to his dad to get, government connections, all that stuff, right? President Trump's first impeachment was all about that. They were protecting Joe and Hunter, and they said that Hunter did nothing wrong. Trump was just he's being vindictive, and he's just going after it. There's nothing there. And everything Hunter did was on the up and up, and there's no problems. And so Trump doing that, he did it for his own political and personal gain. And so that's abuse of power. And they said obstruction of Congress, some other bull crap, right? Trump calls it the perfect phone call is what he calls it. So if that's the case, and everything was on the up and up, and Joe Biden wasn't getting paid from the stuff that Hunter was doing, why did he issue a blanket, unconditional 10-year pardon that goes all the way back to 2014, January 1st, 2014, where Hunter was doing that work?
So that's for you guys to answer at home. Why was this a blanket pardon that goes back 10 years? And if everybody in the Democrat Party knew about this, then maybe they always knew about this, and you guys should contemplate that the next time you vote. Next.
All right, let's snack and let's talk about the news.
She has really
So
nice
did you
hair.
guys see this? President Biden has now pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, although he's repeatedly said he would never pardon his son. But now he's claiming that the prosecution unfairly treated him because Hunter Biden was his son. Now Hunter Biden faced a slew of charges. He was convicted on gun charges, felony gun charges, likely faced years in prison. What do you think about President Biden pardoning his son?
I think she just ate breakfast and lunch right in front of us. What do you guys think?
Stop everything. This is the most controversial move in modern politics. Yesterday, President Biden pardoned his own son, Hunter, a decision sending shockwaves throughout the nation. Now, is this justice or favoritism? Remember, President Biden previously said that he would not pardon his son, but some say Hunter was targeted unfairly. Others argue this pardon undermines trust in our entire justice system, creating one set of rules for the powerful and another one for everyone else. Think about it. What happens when future presidents face similar family crises? Are we witnessing the creation of a justice system where blood ties trump the rule of law? Could this divide the Democratic Party from within? How does this move impact their credibility to call out corruption or favoritism on the other side? This decision forces us to ask hard questions about loyalty, leadership, and justice. What would you do if you were president and this was your son?
I think a good 8 out of 10 of us, even 9 out of 10, would go ahead and forgive and pardon our sons. Let me know what you think down below.
This was a man who came to the office while promising the American people that he will not be using the office of the president to benefit his own family members.
Okay.
That's what Trump was always getting accused of all the time, and that's what he promised it. That's the sort of thing that he will never do. But Biden pardoned his son who lied on his application to get a gun that he was no more a drug addict, which he is. That can be dangerous, man. Drugs and guns cannot go together. Because when you are high on drugs and you have guns, you can do a lot of damage. That's really dangerous. That's as dangerous as the people who rioted on January 6th. Should Trump then pardon those people also? How much noise will the media in this country make about Trump doing such a thing?
I don't think people really care about this Biden issue. Yeah, it looks bad because, he had the situation where he looks like he earned some money off the Ukrainians, right, in this Burisma thing. But I don't think many people actually care about it as much as they say.
Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. This is something he publicly promised he would not do. This is a huge reversal for Joe Biden, and something I'm sure he spent a lot of time contemplating. This pardon cannot be rescinded by Donald Trump either. This pardon covers Hunter Biden through January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, which covers the entire time he was on the board of Ukrainian gas company Burisma. Given the list of nominees for the upcoming Trump cabinet, there is no doubt they are planning to investigate Hunter Biden and his dealings with Burisma. This basically rules that out as a possibility now. Biden said in a statement that he issued the pardon because his son was selectively and unfairly prosecuted. He said Hunter was treated differently than others who have committed similar crimes. Well, I would agree with that. And Joe Biden also said, "I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. I also hope Americans don't forget about all the pardons Trump gave to 5 of his former campaign staff members and political advisors like Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Mike Flynn, Steve Bannon, and George Papadopoulos. It could be argued that all of these people were found guilty of crimes far more serious than that of Hunter Biden. Remember that Trump has promised to pardon all of the January 6th insurrectionists who were found guilty. These are people that attacked police officers and desecrated our country's capital."
So how does that make you feel? Do you want him to pardon the January 6th offenders, or do you want him to let them serve their sentences? It sounds to me like a lot of them have already been in jail for quite a while.
Biden went ahead and pardoned his son with basically the last month of his presidency. And I was thinking, not for nothing, I don't blame him. If I had that kind of power and my son needed help, if you really think about it, what was he supposed to do? Pardon some rapper, pardon some criminal he don't know, or his own son? I understand it is kind of there is some abuse of power in that, but at the end of the day, that's his son. I don't care what the news is gonna say. At the end of the day, y'all gonna have a new presidency, y'all gonna move on. Or am I supposed to leave my child in jail because I'm not trying to ruffle some feathers? So I kind of understand where he's coming from. And if you really think about it, Joe Biden had 4 kids, right? 3 of them are dead. And he lost a spouse. If you really think about it, that's kind of crazy. So he has one more kid left to get it right. And although his son has had troubles in the past, there's no way if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't take my son out of that situation. You feel me? So I feel like even though there is some abuse of power there because, he's using his presidential power to benefit his own family, I mean, that's what people do all the time. People use their power people do that in corporate America all the time.
I just think on both parties, we should look at politicians and just say, I think most of them are bad, crooked, slimy, fill in the blank.
Everybody is ripping and raving because Joe Biden pardoned his son. So
What are your thoughts?
Let's talk about it. First and foremost, this is Esther Spills the Tea TV, and today we're going to talk about Papa Joe. So I want to start off with, so what? So what? One thing this election has taught me this year, that anything can happen, whether it's good or bad. If it was my child, I would pardon my child, wouldn't you? It's just mind-boggling that people got so much to say, and people meaning a lot of the Republicans have so much to say about him pardoning his son. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying whatever his son did was right or wrong. I'm pretty sure it had to do with drugs and taxes, all wrong. But Joe is leaving with a bang. He's saying, you know what? Since we can vote for a felon, racist, sexist president, then I sure as hell can pardon my son. Go, Joe. All power to you.
Yeah, I guess.
It is within his power for him to issue the pardon, and because that is his child, he of course did that. There are lots of folks who are like, well, if it was Trump, we already know that he would pardon whoever it is that he wants to pardon. And we know this. However, when you are in the role as leader of the free world, right? Are there privileges that you would have as a parent that you must forfeit because of your role and the larger implications that it has? Obviously, the answer that we are saying is that no, it doesn't matter. He's a parent. We get it. And to be clear, if I haven't said this, if it was my child and I had the power, I would likely do the same thing. What's interesting about all of this is that Democrats frequently try to position themselves as being on this moral high ground where things that the conservative party would do, they would not do. But I hope that this moment just lets all of us as constituents, as voters, understand the people who come into these roles are just that, people. They have flaws. They have shortcomings. They have moments where their humanity as a person will dictate their role as president.
Wouldn't that be crazy if all of a sudden he's like, I'm giving Sean Diddy Combs a pardon? Oh my God, that would be nuts. That would really cause a stir.
And if we could be so understanding as why someone would do this for their child, I would say, why don't we go further? What can you do for the people on your way out, Biden? We understand why you have chosen to forgive your son.
Do you think she's low-key asking for him to pardon everybody of their college debt? The answer is no. Go back to work.
Is President Biden going to pardon his son Hunter?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, he's not running for re-election. What does he have to lose or prove at this point? Is he just going to go on ahead and pardon his son? Because listen, President-elect said that he is pardoning those January 6th insurrectionist traitors that he calls political prisoners. He's going to pardon them. President Biden, go on ahead and pardon your son.
No, he's not going to pardon his son because President Biden is going to do the right thing.
Baby, Joe Biden said, if y'all can elect a felon, then I can pardon one. Because later on tonight, y'all, he is set to make an announcement that he will be pardoning his son, Hunter Biden, okay? Now, I can't speak for you, but it definitely comes as a surprise to me due to the fact he has said in the past that he would not interfere in Hunter's case and that he will not be pardoning his son. But let's be real, y'all. That is his son, okay?
He
now,
doesn't recall that
I
statement.
thought that it was going to be Trump to pardon him. I'm not going to lie. But if you guys know anything about Joe Biden, he has said in the past that the only reason why the Republicans came for Hunter was because they were coming for him, okay? Now, with everything that Trump is doing as far as forming this new administration, I cannot blame Joe Biden because he probably felt like the Republicans were going to come for Hunter and they possibly were going to come for Hunter hard, okay? Now, Joe, before you leave out of office, if you can pardon them student loans like you just pardoned your son, then I promise you could probably make America great again.
I knew they were asking for something. These young liberal college students always want everyone to pay their loans. All right, there's probably some conservative students that want their loans paid off too.
See, this is part of the reason why I've essentially become a hermit. I go to an event today, mostly as emotional support.
Okay.
I'm an emotional support person. So we have to go into this room and there's a line. And then across from the line is a setup for pictures. There's this lady taking pictures, but she's backing up and not checking to see where the line is behind her. Pretending that no one in the room exists except for her.
Right.
And as she does that, I back up because she's steadily encroaching on my space. And this has happened 4 times. And I start to think to myself, why are you accommodating this rude ass lady? And then it happens. She bumps me. So I start counting because I don't want to blow my top. And I'm like, this is not going to happen again. The line's going to move or whatever. It's going to be fine. And then sure enough, she bumps me again.
Wouldn't that scare the shit out of you if you bumped into this lady and instead of talking to you, she started counting? Oh my God, I would be like, let's get out of here before she hits 3.
So I turn in her direction and very loudly say, "Excuse you." The room got quiet a little bit and she swung around real fast, looking terrified, saying, "I'm so sorry." Of course you're sorry now. Because you're embarrassed you've been put on the spot after you've been rude to me a total of 6 times in less than 3 minutes.
I can feel her pain. Maybe just tell it to her personally instead of letting the whole room know. But I understand where you're coming from. Look at how I stopped her eyes there. She looks possessed.
Somebody has hurt you. Somebody has done damage to you.
It's
This is
Joe.
what you say to them.
Please don't pardon
You're
your son.
forgiven. I just can't fool with you like that. I'm not angry. I love me.
I love you guys so much. I want you to go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. And remember, forgive President Biden. He wants his son to be out of prison so he can spend the last couple years with him. I'm a conservative. I'm not a big Biden fan, but I can still appreciate a guy wanting to be with his son. So go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk with me. Let's go. Happy hump day, Venters. See how quick the weeks fly by? You get through a 4-day weekend, and before you know it, you're halfway through with the week again. Tonight, I'm planning on looking up at the sky to see if we see any aliens. And what's really crazy is right now it's 4:30 Arizona time, which means it's 6:30 on the East Coast. For all I know, the aliens could already be taking over the Capitol, but I seriously doubt it. I just don't think aliens exist, guys. I honestly think that just how the Russians have these missiles that can strike at 3 miles per second, I think the US has UFOs that can travel at a fraction of the speed of light. I really do feel that way. Could I be wrong? Of course. Am I probably wrong? You bet. But the point is, that makes actually more sense, doesn't it? Than there being some sort of alien race. And then keep in mind, 10, 15 years ago, nobody ever talked about interdimensional anything. We always talked about UFOs as if they came from some faraway planet. Now everyone's like, no, we never said that. It's interdimensional beings. It's interdimensional nothing but our imagination. That's what it is. Sure you guys heard that everybody's up in arms on both sides of the aisle when it comes to Joe Biden forgiving and pardoning his son Hunter. But you guys want to know something? There's only one person in the country that can forgive and pardon people, and that's the president. And each year, from what I understand, they are sent hundreds of requests by family members to have the president pardon somebody, right? But if you're going to pardon anybody and you're given that power for just a limited amount of time, let's be honest, if you're going to forgive and pardon anybody, it's going to be a family member or a near dear friend. Before anybody else, no matter how you slice or dice it, if I were the president and my son or daughter had done something that's a little suspect, I would probably use that pardon power on them as well. Are you trying to tell me that you wouldn't? And if you wouldn't, I believe you. But let me know down in the comments, because there's two trains of thought. There's one train of thought that says, hey, I don't care who you are, even if you're my family member or even if you're my spouse or whatever, if you've done anything to break the law, there's a price that you have to pay. And I can definitely respect where you're coming from there. But one of the things that we were always told was a perk or a power of being the president was the very idea that you get to pardon people. And I would hate to think that the only people you pardon every year are those turkeys. They're always pardoning turkeys so they don't get eaten at Thanksgiving. That's just for show. The real turkey that they were able to pardon this year was Hunter Biden. And again, I probably would have done it too. So I'm not mad at Joe for anything. As a matter of fact, there's a piece of me that feels like Joe was really done a disservice by this country, because I don't think he was really ever up to par when it came to the job. And I think for the rest of his life, his legacy when he's long gone is going to be that he was some sort of failure president. But can't we all agree that we would be best to be president when maybe we're in our 50s or 60s rather than when we're, pushing 80? So Joe, enjoy your retirement. Have Hunter come over and spend some time with you. It's the least he can do. I'm not mad at you. And let's be honest, it's not like Hunter Biden is a mass murderer or serial killer. It's not going to hurt any one of us if he doesn't go to jail. By the way, I don't think he would do too well in jail. I don't think most of us would do too well in that type of place. Jesse, you're just being nice to Hunter. Are you a secret Democrat? No, it's just I know how human nature is. You're telling me that if anybody in the world has a special ability to protect their own flesh and blood, their own son, that you're not going to pull the trigger and do it? I think anybody would press the button, forgive him, boom, done, that easy. You sign a document, you give it to the lawyers to do the rest, boom, your son is considered pardoned. Look what I'm seeing is kids on their bikes. I know it sounds crazy, but man, I just never see that stuff. Earlier today, I was looking out a window and I saw what looked to be a mom walking her 2 kids to school. And again, you just don't see that anymore. When I was young, this neighborhood had kids outside until it was dark. And right when the sun went down, that's when people were bummed out because they had to go inside. Did you guys have that same rule where you could stay outside till it got dark? And then once it got dark, you were expected to come in and eat dinner and do your homework and go to bed and repeat the process. Has anyone out there noticed that when you first start walking, you're walking extremely slowly? And I mean literally your first 2 or 3 days walking, you're walking very, very slowly and you're just enjoying the walk. And after you've walked for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, now you're consistently just chugging along, walking at a really quick pace, but it doesn't necessarily feel quick because you do it regularly, so it's comfortable. But if you think about it, you're probably walking quite a bit faster than you were those first couple of days. With that being said, I always recommend that if you're on your first couple walks, don't try to walk as fast as you can. Try to walk as slow as you can, because you're going to naturally get faster as you keep going. One of the things that video we watched yesterday really showed me is that it doesn't matter how big you are or how out of shape you are. If you just continually walk, you're gonna lose weight. Oh my God, she has like a dozen cats out. Oh my God, did you guys see that? I hope I was able to angle the camera where you could see she's got like a dozen cats. That's the famous cat lady of our neighborhood. The other day we walked by and I noted that there were like 3 or 4 cats, and I thought maybe the city punished her and made her give up some of her cats, but apparently they were just inside the house. She's the nicest lady though. Every time I walk by, she smiles and waves. I don't mind the cats. You know, if you have 20 dogs in your yard, they're gonna be barking and making a ton of noise. But you could have 30 or 40 cats and you might not hear a peep out of any of them. I'm having a unique phenomenon happening when I wake up in the morning. Usually I wake up at like 5:30 or 6 and I can already see the sun starting to pop out of the sky, right? But lately it's been staying down later and later in the day to the point where it's not really popping up till 7 o'clock. And so that makes really for a weird situation where if I wake up at 6 or 6:30, it's still completely dark in my room. And my natural thought is, oh, it's still nighttime, I'll go back to bed. Because sometimes I'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the evening, or in the morning, I should say, you know, to maybe use the restroom, or I just wake up because I just wake up, but then I usually fall right back asleep if I notice that it's dark. I think a lot of us do that, right? But when it's dark all the way till you go to work in the morning, it becomes really weird because I'm used to using the sun to kind of help wake me up. One of my neighbors put up a chicken coop. And right when I saw them putting up the chicken coop, my stress level rose because I can imagine like 8 or 9 chickens clucking and making noise all through the night and all through the day. But then I looked a little bit closer and I noticed that there weren't any chickens. It was the cocks. It was the, the roosters or what have you. And I think, as crazy as this sounds, I think my neighbor's gonna try to do some sort of cockfighting thing, and I'm pretty sure that's big time illegal. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. We're gonna have to snuff that shit out. But of course, I'd be interested to see what a cockfight looks like. You ever heard about that? That supposedly they'll attach knives and blades to the legs of the animal, and then when the animal jumps up and attacks the other animal, it's literally slicing into them. And they're deadly fights, whether they have weapons attached to them or not. But just imagine having a knife attached to your body part and you're stabbing other animals. That's crazy. So nonetheless, I missed this morning's walk, but here's my game plan. Right after I am done walking with you guys, I'm gonna head off to the gym and take my second walk. So as crazy as it sounds, I'm going from one walk to another, and you might be thinking, well, Jesse, why don't you just walk in the neighborhood for longer? And normally I would, but you know, when you pay for a gym membership, I like to be in the habit of using the things that I pay for. I always think it's a shame when people pay 25 or 30 bucks a month for a gym membership and then they never go. It's like, why don't you cancel that thing? That's one of the things I love about walking. I don't know about you guys, but the whole idea that walking is completely free, right? You don't have to pay for it. Well, Jesse, why did you bring up the gym? Guys, I got one of the memberships where I just paid for the whole year outright. It cost me 200 bucks. If you don't want to pay 200 bucks, I think they have a $10 a month plan. I just don't like the idea of having my card on file for them to just auto charge for the rest of my life. I figure every year if I want to go back, I'll pony up the 200 bucks. That's just kind of the thing that I've noticed that kind of works for me. I don't want a pay-as-you-go plan. I don't want a credit card with an interest rate. If there's something that I want, I like the idea of saving up for it and paying for it. And a lot of people want that instant gratitude. Hey, I don't like the idea of waiting 6 to 12 months to buy this product, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it on a credit card so I can have it right now. And the problem with that is, I like the instant gratitude of not owing a bill. I don't like having something in my hand right now and then paying for it for the next 2 or 3 years. I want it to be paid for, get my use out of it, recycle it in some way, shape, or form, and move on with my life. One of the things that I found out that kind of bothers me about us Americans is I think half of us have 2 or 3 monthly subscriptions that we pay for that we have forgotten about. Have you ever heard about this? That's why they have these services now where you actually pay a fee and they monitor all your subscriptions that you have across the board, and then they cancel those ones that you no longer use. But here's the thing, if you're paying a service a fee for that, that just goes to show you how big the problem is. Where you buy a channel on HBO or something so you can watch a movie for a month or two, your game plan is to cancel it, and before you know it, you've had it for a year and you never watch the channels. I'm trying like heck to get rid of this Halloween wait. Meanwhile, we have birthdays coming up and we just had Thanksgiving, and I'm trying my darndest to get back in shape by the time day 90 rolls around. But again, guys, we are human. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, we're still gonna gain a little weight. But the last thing we wanna do is add on to that weight gain by just stopping and quitting. So if you're going through the same thing I am, where magically over the last month or two, you've gained a handful of pounds, this is not the time to give up. This is the time to keep barreling through. What'll happen is ultimately we'll get past Christmas into New Year's, and then from that point on, we should be able to lose a good 10 or 15 pounds together. Remember, it's just like those videos said, it's not about how fast you're walking. It's not even really about how long or how far you walk. It's just about how consistent you can be with your walk. Case in point, you're gonna eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day consistently for the rest of your life. Well, if we can go ahead and add a consistent walk or two to kill some of those, burn some of those calories for us, then that's going to really be a good way to attack it. The way not to attack it is to go buy a gym membership and just create another bill in your life for something that you're not going to use. I think that's why a lot of these companies, have you noticed, they all want you to do auto pay. Back in the 90s, when they started doing these auto pay situations where your credit card or your checking account was on file, it was because a lot of people would miss payments. And so the companies wanted a way where those payments were more consistent. Well, now over the last 10 or 15 years, I feel like it's changed. Because now, instead of having a pay all up front option, they really try to force this auto pay system on you. And you can even find out if you ask people that have tried to quit their gym membership. A lot of times there's like a cancellation fee. And even though your gym membership only costs $10 a month and you can cancel at any time, you end up finding out there's a $50 cancel fee. Well, if I can cancel at any time and my gym membership is only $10, why don't I just have a $10 cancellation fee or even a $0 cancellation fee? Why the heck is it always got to be 40 or 50 bucks? It's because they never want to leave well enough alone. They don't want your $10 today. They want your 50, 60, 70 bucks every 6 months for the rest of your life. That's the catch. Don't let them catch you. Don't let them do that. That Sling TV is probably what, 50, 60 bucks a month, maybe even more if you get a lot of channels. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but don't you remember just about 5, 10 years ago, those commercials for Sling would show a guy on TV bragging about how Sling only costs 10 bucks a month? You remember that? And it was like, hey, only watch the channels you need, 10 bucks a month. And then before you know it, it's 70 bucks a month, just like every other place. And if you get cable and internet bundled up together, God, it's not shocking to have a $200 or $300 bill. That's what blows me away. Some people have a $50 or $60 bill because they get limited services, you know. And then some people get every single channel and the highest internet package. And before you know it, they've got a $250 cable bill. One thing we have in Arizona that you guys don't have around the country is we have all these cactuses. And when people decorate their cacti with lights and stuff, I always find it really cool and pretty. We have a lot of plants and a lot of trees out here that are kind of unique to the desert. And at Christmas time, they really do look awesome. I love the way Christmas lights look. I remember ever since the first time I saw houses lit up in Christmas lights, I don't know about you guys, but I always thought, why don't we just have the Christmas lights up all year round? They look so awesome. And they really do. It kind of makes you wonder why we don't. But I have a feeling the utility bill probably goes up for most people at Christmas time because of these very lights. So let's talk real quick about what we're going to do going into New Year's. Obviously, a lot of us are going to start a New Year's resolution. I would recommend that your resolution be to re-key back in and focus on your walking. I know a lot of you walk every single day, but if you're doing what I do, which is do the same route every day for 20 or 30 minutes, you might be doing yourself a disservice. Take some different routes. Check out your neighborhood. There's probably streets and homes in your neighborhood that you haven't seen in years, and a lot of them might have some really neat decorations this time of year. Remember, every half hour you walk is going to kill about 150 calories, and if you find that you're snacking a lot this time of year, just take a couple extra walks. It gets so warm out here even during the cold times of year. Well, Jesse, that's obviously global warming. Yeah. Guys, there's one problem with global warming. Nothing we can do can stop it at this point. And even if we did everything to stop it, there's other countries that aren't. So the only thing I could see is if we just take China and India and just throw them off the face of the earth And I think we can all agree that's not going to happen. So what we ought to do is just try to move to areas in the country where we don't have these crazy storms. Because you want to know something I always wonder? People that live in Tornado Alley, you know, in the Midwest and southern United States, the southern states, you have all these devastating tornadoes come through. And on the East Coast, you have these devastating hurricanes that hit you every year. And it's like, instead of having the whole world change so that those storms don't become so violent, I think the best move would just be like to move away from the coast, move away from the areas where you have these devastating storms. And they always show the western United States compared to the East. And if you ever notice, the East at night has all these lights. Meanwhile, the western United States looks almost like North Korea. It's all a bunch of dark patches, right? And it's like, what we ought to do is find the areas in those dark patches where the weather is somewhat mild, and we ought to sell houses there like crazy and get the people away from the coasts. If Florida is supposed to be underwater in the next 100 or 200 years, then why don't we just start moving away from Florida now? That would be the smart move, wouldn't it? Make it where people can't sell those properties. Make it where they can only rent them out, so that for the next 20 or 30 years, they're just rental properties. And then ultimately, when the seas overflow them, people can move back in. Because otherwise, what's the hope? That we can all give up our cars in time to save Florida? It just seems kind of hokey and goofy to me. By the way, if there are aliens in the ocean, wouldn't it make sense that those aliens would potentially be the reason that the ocean is upping itself in temperature? I mean, what if they're under there just boiling the hell out of the water and we don't even realize it? Wouldn't that be crazy if it's literally not humans, it's these aliens in the ocean? They're literally causing these storms on shore? God, that would be something else, wouldn't it? By the way, they have been showing pictures of drones and stuff, and they're saying that, wow, these things are swarming over the US bases at night. And I just can't believe that we have a military base and they're not trying to stop it. Does anybody else find that weird? I saw a video the other night where they show like a fighter jet go up and it gets close to one of these things and then they show the thing kind of fly away. And it's like, why isn't that on the news 24/7? Why am I only seeing that on a YouTube video? It's because it's all BS. If there's anything above a US military installation, it's because it's supposed to be there. You guys know as well as I do, if we flew a drone over that, they would catch that drone, they would come and either give us a hefty fine or throw us in jail. So the reason they're not apprehending these supposed drones is not because they're afraid that they're going to start an intergalactic war. It's because they're probably one of our drones. Sometimes you have to say, what's the most obvious answer? That's it. That is the most obvious answer. And the next obvious answer is that all the UFOs we see are probably just military vehicles of ours. Am I the only one that would go ahead and do what Biden did and just forgive my son? Biden's thinking to himself, hey, I'm going to be leaving this planet in a couple years. I don't want to leave my life knowing that I let my son go into prison. So I could totally see him busting out that. Maybe I'm just the only one that's not mad at him for doing it. I think a lot of people would do that. I get mad at him for other things, but the things I get mad at him about, I don't even think are his fault. You know, as you get old, you get a little foggy and fuzzy in your thoughts, you know, and I imagine when you're pushing 80, it can get real bad. Get to the point where the only thing you understand and enjoy is an ice cream cone, for Pete's sake. If that's the situation he's in, let him forgive his kids, let his kids, you know, live his last couple days in freedom. And just get over it, because the reality is, I think a lot of those politicians are guilty of a lot of things, and they're lucky not to be in jail themselves. Here's the thing, regardless of what happens in the world, there's your world that you have to contemplate. The best way we can take care of your world is to improve ourselves from within. The best person we want to change is not the outside world, it's that guy or woman in the mirror. So walk every day, drink your water every day, eat your vitamins, brother, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.